Hey, want to know the difference between the TCP and UDP protocols? Of course you do, because you're awesome like that. Well, I can help with that, so let's go ahead and get into it. But first, what is a protocol? Well, a protocol is a set of rules that two or more entities agree to follow in order to communicate with each other. For example, when your computer sends a request for a web page to a server, there is a protocol that dictates how the request is formatted and how the response is returned. In this case, that protocol is HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol. There are many different protocols that can be used to communicate over the internet, and they all have different purposes. Some common examples include FTP for transferring files, SMTP for sending email, and POP3 for retrieving email. But the two most common transport layer protocols are TCP and UDP. So what's the difference between them? Well, TCP is a connection-oriented protocol, which means that the sender and receiver both agree to establish a connection before data is transmitted. UDP, on the other hand, is a connectionless protocol. That means it's sort of a fire and forget mechanism. The sender just sends its data without ever knowing if anyone is listening. Kind of like this video. Instead, they simply send out a message and hope for the best. Of course, there's a bit more to it than that, but that's the general idea. Another way to think of it is that TCP is a connection-oriented protocol, while UDP is a connectionless protocol. With TCP, a connection is established between the client and the server before any data is sent. This ensures that the data will be sent in order and without errors. However, this also means that there is some overhead involved in establishing the connection. With UDP, on the other hand, there is no connection to establish. The client simply sends the data to the server with the expectation that it will arrive in a timely manner. If the data does not arrive, the client may resend it, but this is not guaranteed. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you're building an application that requires a lot of real-time communication, such as a video conferencing application, then you might want to use UDP. On the other hand, if you're building an application that requires a lot of reliability, such as an e-commerce application, then you might want to use TCP. Does anyone watching still use e-commerce applications? Anyway, I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.